Hello and welcome to Digesting the Soul. My name is Heather. I thought for my first video I would explore the role of illness in our lives. And I've been working on an essay that I've entitled The Purpose of Illness, and that's really what I want to go over with you today. I have my laptop set up here, so I was going to go over this point by point. And this really is the summary of my own personal journey, the conclusions I've come to after working with several different types of healers in my life, and also after reading probably by now hundreds of books on the topic. So illness is defined as a disease or a period of sickness within the body and or mind. And I think the why of illness is really one of those big philosophical questions for us humans. And I think at the point of anyone's diagnosis, there's a moment where you say, why me and why now? And usually the diagnosis will come as a complete shock to you. And I think what I've learned on my own long and winding road through illness is that I believe illness should be viewed as a spiritual crisis. Now, don't confuse the word spiritual with religious. I'm simply using the word spiritual to reference the human spirit or the human soul, or however it is that you define that. And whether you practice a specific faith or not, illness affects every human. And you can't escape illness, much like death. We will try our best to outrun it, but it usually catches up with you. And at some point, we all experience to one degree or another. And illness for some people is a very minor player throughout their lives, and for others, it's like a major focal point. And I believe that illness is a wake-up call, and it's pointing out that something in your emotional life is out of balance and is requiring healing. And by the time that illness has manifested in your body, it means that you have definitely missed the quiet whispers and the soft nudges and the intuitive knowing and the persistent reminders and messages from the universe to get you to acknowledge what is most important in your life. And illness is a takedown, and it's going to use your body like a weapon, and it is purposely removing you from your everyday routine, and it wants a shake-up and a shakedown. And I've come to believe that perhaps an unconscious part of ourselves has been ignoring the actions, the changes, the thoughts, the conversations that are only in our best interest, that would encourage us to explore the priorities and direction of our own lives, that ultimately results in spiritual growth. And I think illness attempts to evoke the change that we as all humans attempt to resist at all costs. And so I think that illness is a direct confrontation with your own human fear of change. And one of my favorite quotes from the novel The Leopard is, if we want things to stay as they are, things will have to change. Illness is a collect call from the universe forcing you to look at the details of your life. And so if we are spiritual beings having a human experience, if you come to believe in the philosophy that perhaps we do incarnate into a body to learn a series of lessons to spiritually evolve, then illness has appeared to make the point that you have gotten off track from your divine plan. Now, illness has manifested as a method in which to redirect, reroute you towards your ultimate destiny. And illness hopes that its presence in your life will elicit reflection about what's going on in your life and all the choices that you have made up until that point. Now, if you think about what happens even when you get some simple cold, you most likely you'll call into work, you stay home, You'll stay in your comfy, soft PJs. You rest in bed, maybe get more sleep. You'll soothe your symptoms with coffee and teas. And basically, I think that this cold has manifested as a method to get you to slow down. It wants you to take the time to disconnect from the mundane activities of the world, to disconnect from the social media beast, and it wants you to look inward, not outward. It's asking for you to review your priorities in your life. And in the least, it's asking you to summon gratitude about your previous well-being and to acknowledge all the blessings in your life that we quickly can take for granted in our very fast-paced world. And no one is more grateful about well-being than somebody who has experienced illness. So illness calls you out. It gets you to admit, acknowledge, expose some area of your life that you have not dealt with. And I believe that in order to fully heal, we must begin the discovery process towards uncovering these deep-seated emotional issues and traumas. And I do believe a large percentage of the time for us, these are issues that are rooted in early life experiences. And these issues have continued to go unresolved and unaddressed, and they're still playing out in our day-to-day lives through our relationships and our relationship with ourselves. Now, the interesting thing is that illness is also playing a role for our growth when it is in the others in our life. And so whether it's a loved one, a family member, a friend, a coworker, or even when it's a public figure, illness works to spotlight for us to consider how we have been living our lives. Often when we hear that someone is ill, we start naturally thinking about our own health and well-being, and maybe even start to consider our own mortality. And so illness can act like a catalyst even when it has not manifested in your own body. And a great recent example would be the unexpected death of the musician Prince. In the media, it has been discussed that perhaps his untimely death had something to do with a medication that he had become addicted to after undergoing a surgery. And then recently, another musician, Chaka Khan, who was also addicted to that very same medication, made the decision to enter herself in rehab. Prince's death elicited in her life reflection, and she answered the call of spirit for change and created an action towards healing and personal growth in her life. And so I also think illness has a purpose in which it tries to evoke greater love and compassion towards others. And I recently had someone in my life who experienced a debilitating chronic illness for the first time. And one of the first things they said to me was, "Heather, I had no idea what it's like to live your life with a chronic illness. It impacts every area of your life. You can barely plan, the day, let alone the future. I had no idea what you've been going through for over 20 years. So for this person, they experienced awakening when illness came to their doorstep. They experienced a deeper appreciation and more compassion and understanding for others. Now you might ask one further question about, well then why are children born with illness and disease or experience it at a young age? And I think again, we have to answer this question from a spiritual perspective, and I think there might be one of two things occurring. One is this child's soul may have planned on coming to the earth to experience illness as a major focal point in their life to experience soul growth. And then in addition, the parents and community surrounding this ill child might also need the experience of the lessons involved when you're caring and loving for an ill child. So I believe that there's always a gift that illness is presenting to you. And I think you just have to be open to receiving it. And how many times have we seen the parents of an ill child change and transform their lives? They become advocates for the child's disease. They will create charities. They will lobby at Congress to raise awareness and to fund monies for the disease. And in this instance, I believe that they have answered the call from Spirit and that they have aligned with their destiny. You know, they have evolved spiritually and focused on the priorities in their life. So I think if we begin to address the manifestation of illness, whether personally in our own bodies or in the loved ones around us, this perspective gives us the ability to move forward on a journey towards further spiritual growth. And if we can keep our minds open that this isn't a punishment and, you know, it's a punishing God and then the world is against me, then a lot of transformations in your life can begin. And I'm really excited to start presenting to you all the method, techniques, and modalities out there to start giving you tractions towards making healing progress in your life. So as always, I'm wishing everybody great health, all the best, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Take care.